It's nuts. I mean, honestly, what do you guys think this next week is gonna look like? Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Seth on that one. But then again, I see what you're saying, because I feel like historically, going back in the last 4 years specifically, that has been the pattern with a lot of instances of social unrest. But we went for over 100 consecutive days of direct action in a couple of cities, at least in Portland. And things got escalated to a point where I think people realized that they can't really let up pressure. And to be honest, I think if Biden wins, it is going to an extent kind of reduce the effect from the liberal side of things, not the left, but the liberal side of things, when people kind of make that assumption that, like, oh, Joe Biden's president now in November of 2019, so Black Lives Matter is good to go. And I don't think that's the majority of people, but I do worry that public showings of support will start to diminish as people start to think that continued protesting against police violence may reflect poorly on the Democrats coming into office. Because right now it's very easy to deflect all of the criticisms that Black Lives Matter has onto the existence of the Republican platform, when in reality it's obviously much more general than that, and underlying everything on both sides, right? So, yeah, I don't know. There is a Vice article that I can link you guys to that's an interesting read. I definitely don't mean to panic monger here, but there was an article that I read recently from somebody in the field of social science. I'll pull it up so that you're not just taking it from me. Where he said that what civil war looks like in the 21st century. I mean, anyone can assume that it doesn't look like the Civil War in the 1850s and 1860s, right? But I feel like a lot of people may have a mental image of what a civil war in America would look like as being people in large rebel cells fighting against the U.S. military with drone warfare and everything. And I think while that is an accurate reflection of the potential that this conflict could grow to, I don't think that in and of itself is indicative of whether or not we're in a civil war. Yeah, so basically this article makes the point that civil war in a lot of countries like Colombia, South America really in general, and a lot of Africa, when a civil war is raging, it is such a gradual buildup, and it is so decentralized. Because, you know, we're in the internet age, for one, but also that's how insurgencies work. That's how the whole situation works in Afghanistan and Iraq, right? So he describes it as basically people go about their everyday lives. They go to cafes, they go to their jobs, and he said that while he was there reporting, he went to the bakery one morning to just get a cup of coffee, and people were reading their papers, and he heard MG fire off in the distance, you know, far enough away to not immediately be a threat. But there was actual fighting happening right there, and the news started reporting on it, but everybody just kept going about their day. And when you think about it, not the very basis of civil unrest. This isn't talking about just, you know, protests happening, but when right-wingers show up to these protests and start engaging in violence with left-wing protesters, and then the police get involved either on the side of the right-wingers or as an independent third party, it starts to mimic the situation to an extent. Yeah, in a way that is happening to a degree here. Yeah, and that's the thing, is that we don't, you know, I was about to say we don't have open gunplay in the situation yet, but that's not true. People have already been shot by aggressors from the other side in multiple instances now, and it's just been like one armed aggravator at this point in individual instances. But it is a question of like, well, how long are things going to take to heat up, or will they just naturally cool down? It's a good read. He doesn't say, I should also mention, he doesn't say definitively that we're in a civil war. And I think that's an important point to note, that he says that his friend quotes him as being the predictor of 8 out of the last 2 civil wars at the very end of the article. So definitely make no mistake, we are not automatically in a civil war just because some guy on Vice said it. But, you know, it is... the lines are a lot more blurred now, and things are a lot more gray than we learned about in history class, even from wars waged 10, 15 years ago, you know? Yeah, anyways, spiel concluded. Let's see how we're doing election-wise.